thoughtfully and creatively designed. Jenny Foster creates each one of her pieces with incredible intricacy, using some of the most traditional and original material you can find. Hear her story of taking what was a hobby to now a business. This is Getting to Know the Triangle. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Getting to Know the Triangle. I'm here with Jenny Foster's, hearing a little bit about her brand and what was a hobby now is kind of turning into something a little business-wise.
Yeah, I'm Jenny Foster, and I have my little business called Radish Toast.
Radish Toast.
I make handmade items, and I make them all out of my shed here.
That's awesome. And this is pretty new.
Yeah. We just finished it in February.
All right.
And it's my studio shed.
I love it. I love it. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Jenny. How long have you been in the Triangle? Maybe a little bit about you and your family.
Okay.
And then we'd love to hear where your favorite restaurant or coffee shop is in the Triangle area.
Sure thing. I am married to Bennett. He is a software engineer, computer software. I don't know all the terms, but he works on computers.
That's the important part.
I've got 3 kids, a 9-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 3-year-old. And we have been in Durham for a little over a year now.
Okay.
We moved from Tennessee at the very end of December, 2 years.
Yep.
Over a year ago. So.
Yep. Fun time to move.
Yes, in the middle of a pandemic. It was a little bit crazy, but it was an awesome decision because we love it here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What so since you love it here, again,
Yes.
what are some of those, what's a restaurant or coffee shop that comes to mind?
Right. Our favorite go-to family restaurant is Namu.
Oh, yes.
They have a ton of outdoor seating, which we love. Just because we're still feel a little weird. Our youngest can't be vaccinated yet, so we're still being a little bit careful about restaurants and everything. So the outdoor seating is awesome.
Namu's beautiful.
Now, date night would have to be Mothers and Sons. Have you ever been there?
No.
Oh, it's downtown. It is one of those places where you'll go spend a lot of money, but then you feel good about every penny that you just spent.
Those are the best.
Delicious,
what
authentic Italian food.
Oh, okay. Downtown Durham?
Yeah, I think the last time we went, my husband got a squid ink pasta.
Wow.
It was black with squid ink. And then they have a beet salad that I dream about, and delicious cocktails.
That's awesome.
So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that. We'll have to try it now if we have it. That's awesome. Well, Jenny, I'd love to dig in a little bit to Radish Toast and kind of where did the dream of kind of getting this going and the product kind of come out of?
Yeah. So I've always really loved creating things and making things. In high school, I kind of started my own little business. It was called Bags by Jenny, and I made tote bags, and I sold them. I had a little binder with all my fabric samples, and I would sell them to students, and then I even had teachers buying them.
That's cool. So you'd bust out your binder in class?
I would, yeah. My teachers would be, call me up to the desk and want to look through the fabric.
That's cool.
So I did that in high school, and that really got me into sewing. I had a teacher as well who taught me how to sew, so that was really cool. I would stay after class, and she would teach me how to use my sewing machine. And then it always just was kind of, when I had time here and there. But I think it was around Easter time of 2015, I realized that I could start making things and selling them again. I actually had a miscarriage, and it was a really difficult time. And so I needed to keep busy. I needed to keep my hands busy.
Right.
You know, keep my mind off of everything that was going on. And so I made a little bunny for my daughter, Marlo, who's was 2.5 at the time, I think. And I posted it on Instagram, and I had a lot of people message me wanting to, like, you know, me to make some for them to buy for Easter baskets.
Okay.
So I started doing that. And then it just kind of started to snowball from there. You know, every year around Easter time, I would make these bunnies and start selling them. And then it really picked up around 2000. When was the eclipse? 2016? Maybe? I don't know. Whenever the eclipse happened, I bought printed eclipse shirts for me and my family, and posted them on Instagram, and immediately started getting orders through messaging. And I actually set up a little tent at a farm in Springfield, Tennessee, because that was part of the eclipse totality. Like, you got the full amount of time that the eclipse was happening.
Mm-hmm.
So people were here from all over the country in this little town of Springfield that we lived in. And I made shirts that had a Springfield, or like had an eclipse logo and said Springfield, Tennessee with the date. And I sold it out. I sold all of them.
Wow.
So that kind of, you know, I feel like that's kind of when it started.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you moved here, right? And did you kind of keep it going throughout the time, so that throughout the 2 years, or
no?
has it, okay. When has it kind of picked up back since you've been here in North Carolina?
Honestly, the past like couple months.
Okay.
So the first year that we were here was pretty much just me getting used to being here and getting the kids' routines and everything kind of locked down. And it was around, I think maybe February that we got the shed finished, and my husband really encouraged me because it makes me so happy. Yeah. But I wasn't really making a lot at the time because it seemed like it was a burden on the whole family, because I would have to do it at the dining room table. So anything I made would be me getting all my supplies out, and there would be fabric everywhere. Right. And I felt almost selfish for doing it, because then the whole house went, you know, it was just a disaster. Yeah. So having this out here, and I can make my mess and then leave it, I can shut the doors. Yeah. And it doesn't bother anyone, has been really huge. Having your own space to kind of be you in, and yeah, that's really important, I think. I want to go back for a second. It's obviously was born. It sounds like it was born out of a little bit of a difficult situation, obviously. But to kind of see how you used that and created something that really kind of made you pretty happy, and now can make other people happy too. That's a really sweet kind of story where that product comes out of. Yeah, it is, and it's because I've kind of made the bunnies every year, and every year I make them a little different. Yeah. I don't know. It's almost just like, it's nice to have that memory every year of like a sad time, but you know, to do something that makes me happy, and then to be able to people to buy them to make their kids happy, and it's redeeming in a way. Yeah, for sure. It's a really cool way to use that opportunity to create a memory of something you really don't want to forget, right? But something that you really did use to show others, you know, what's in your heart too, the opportunity to show others happiness and kindness, and create something that makes other kids and other families happy. Yeah, that's awesome. And so the bunnies came out of specifically kind of being Easter time, or okay. Yeah, and then but you know, I like making all things. So I used to feel like what I made was kind of all over the place, because I make bunnies and then I make quilt coats, but I've realized that there is a common thread that runs through most of my work, which is repurposing fabric. So the bunnies are all made from repurposed or vintage fabrics that I've been collecting over the years. Yeah. You know, quilts, something old that a lot of times, you know, I go around to estate sales and collect these old quilts that usually just sit in closets, but they're beautiful and they're handmade, and I feel as like it's kind of giving it new life. Yeah. Instead of sitting in a closet. Yeah. You know. Yeah, another redeeming aspect of your product. Yeah, yeah. So I love to thread reuse. There. It's an idea going there. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I love to reuse fabrics. A thread, get it? There's a thread. Yes, sewing. Good one. Yeah, that's awesome. Finding these used materials that are beautiful materials that seemingly people have kind of left aside, but you're using them to
purpose of your product.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So estate sales are your primary source of getting these materials?
Mainly the quilts for
Okay.
estate sales. And then any creative person, for the most part, I feel like knows about Scrap Exchange, which is an incredible resource that Durham has. It's a thrift store with art supplies. So you go in and it's enormous, and there's just bins of fabrics, scraps, pretty much.
Interesting. Where's this at?
It is, oh goodness. See, I've been here a year, but I'm still really bad with directions.
That's okay.
I'd spy one of the, I only know it because of the COVID testing site. Like, oh shoot. There's a place across that has churros and coffee. So there's Scrap Exchange and
Cocoa
Scrap.
Cinnamon?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
it's right in that area.
Yeah, that's great.
So there's Scrap Exchange, and then there's Scrap Thrift. So there's a
Okay.
thrift store, and then across the parking lot is the craft side. And
That's
it's
cool.
amazing.
All right, awesome. Well, hey everybody, if you didn't know about it and you're an artsy person,
Go
Scrap
to
Thrift,
Scrap Exchange.
Cool.
That's
All right,
awesome.
that's good. So you kind of acquire your materials from estate sales, this
Thrift
scraps,
stores,
thrift and exchange, and then when you're really sewing them and putting it together, what does that process look like for you?
I'm trying to be a little more organized about it.
Okay.
So that I'm trying to have like a cut day where that's the day that I make all my cuts. So regardless of what I'm making, like right now I have bunny patterns cut out. I have, I like to use every part of the quilt. So even if I'm making a quilt coat, I still use the scraps that I don't use, and I make bunting banners.
Yeah.
And so I've got all that cut out, and then I also do block printing. So I carve stamps and then print them on tea towels and other fabrics.
Cool.
So I have a printing day where I try to get as many prints as I can done. But yeah, it's a process.
That's
and
cool.
It takes a lot of time, especially with 3 kids.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's a full-time thing.
It is. Yes. Yeah.
So you're fitting this in when you can.
Exactly.
How does that work?
My youngest is in preschool 3 mornings a week, and so I try to utilize that time and get a lot of work done. But now that the weather's nice, I just can have the doors open like this, and then they just play outside. I can keep an eye on them, and I can get work done.
Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah,
That's
we figure
awesome.
it out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So share a little bit about, I know you just shared some of your products. How are you kind of selling these products? Do you go to different pop-ups, or do you have an online store, or what does that look like?
So I have an online store. It's radishtoast.com.
Okay.
I just got that going. But I have been doing some pop-ups. I've only done one so far, but I have a lot more already in the schedule.
Cool.
So I'm doing one.
What's the next one?
The next one is actually the High Wire Brewing. They're having a 3-year anniversary party.
Cool.
It's on the 26th. So I'm going to be there as a vendor. And then I'm doing a Golden Belt pop-up, which is the first Saturday of the month. That's kind of where like Two Roosters Ice Cream and High Wire is, in that little area. And the big one I have coming up is Patchwork Market.
Okay.
Which is a big handmade market. It's indoors. Yeah, that's mid-April, I believe. So.
Cool. So you got some coming up?
I've got some coming up.
Got a busy next month?
Yes, especially
Cool.
April. I've got, I think, 3 in April. So
That'll be fun.
yeah, it's good.
So, and then you have your website.
Yeah, and then I sell through my website.
Radishtoast.com.
Yes.
Okay,
And I'm
nice.
hoping to get in maybe some local shops. Before we moved, I was selling stuff at a sandwich shop in Springfield that my friend ran. It's delicious. If you're ever in Springfield, Tennessee, it's called Born and Raised Market. And then also Sage Refill Market, which is one of the refill stores where they have like the bottles of shampoo and dish soap, and you bring in your own containers.
Yeah.
So very much, non-plastic, trying to minimize waste.
Sure.
And so they carry my tea towels there. That's in Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
But I'd like to get in with some shops here in Durham, and maybe that'll be next.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, people have to check out your website for sure. I'll make sure that's in the video.
Yeah.
People can get to. Share a little bit about Radish Toast. Where did that name, and I love the logo too.
Yeah, thanks. So it was Little Life Handmaids for a long time.
Okay.
And then when we moved here and I kind of started getting it going again, I wanted a fresh start. So I decided to kind of rebrand and rename, and I could not think of anything. I had like a whole list of ideas, and everything felt too silly or too serious. Because with what I make, it is all over the place. I mean, I
Sure.
make bunnies and quilt coats and tea towels. Like, there's, I didn't know. And so I was thinking, and I was like, I'd really love a piece of radish toast right now because it's my favorite snack. And I was like,
Boom.
why would I not name my business after a delicious snack? So
Yeah.
there's radish toast.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's
Yeah.
a little whimsical,
Yeah.
a little eclectic.
And you won't forget it. It's
Yeah.
radish toast.
Yeah,
It's kind of odd. So
very memorable.
Yeah.
I love it. Cool. Thanks for sharing that.
yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I love the story of how kind of the desire to make the things were kind of birthed, and
Yeah.
this common thread of almost redeeming these different materials and these memories to kind of create a product that makes others happy, right?
Yeah.
And well, that's really cool. I would love for you to share real quick, as we're kind of wrapping up.
Mhm.
I guess throughout the time, even since looking back at when it first came about, what were some maybe challenges or struggles that you had with maybe getting this going, or doubts or hesitations, and how'd you kind of overcome those?
Yeah. Well, that's something I have to do every day, honestly. Imposter syndrome is
Yeah.
real, and I suffer from it greatly.
You're telling me.
Yes. So I definitely have moments where I kind of step back and think, why am I...
For somebody maybe listening who maybe doesn't know what you're saying by imposter
syndrome. When you feel like you are an imposter by doing what you're doing. You kind of second guess yourself and you think, I'm not equipped to do this. Like, there's so many other people that do what I'm doing but better. Why would I do this?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel that a lot. And I think this is the first time I'm really taking myself seriously. I honestly think that's part of the reason I changed my business name from Little Life Handmaids, because when I named my business that, even by putting little in the title, I felt as if it's just a little hobby,
Right.
It's just this little thing that I'm doing. Or if somebody ever called me an artist, I would cringe. I'm not an artist. I've seen artists, and I'm not an artist.
Wow.
So it's something that I'm trying to do, is by saying I am an artist. I make art. There's not one right way to do anything, and I'm creating, and people do like what I make. People like whatever you make. Don't just put yourself out there. Like,
Yeah.
there will always be better people. There will always be people who are that you think is doing what you're doing, but better.
Sure.
But people will surprise you, and if you just make what you want to make and put it out there, I think people will be pleasantly surprised by how it's received, especially in a creative place like Durham.
Yeah. I think a lot of people need to hear that.
Yes.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really cool to see how you've kind of worked through that and are working through that.
Yeah.
That is a daily battle.
Oh,
right?
for sure. I don't think there will ever be a time where I'm like, you know what, I've really made it. I'm great. No, every day it's like, shit, what am I doing? But I do it. I get up, and it makes me happy. If above anything else, it makes me happy, and that's important enough.
Yeah, that's good. And part of that, I think a lot of people, get discouraged by that battle, right? That imposter syndrome or doubt, or whatever you call it. And I think I've really come to see that it's almost, it's an essential part of life.
Yeah.
It makes us stronger and more confident, and it almost gives us a sense of strength when we are doing our product well, and overcoming that doubt in your mind, and it really isn't ever going to go away.
No, it's not.
Hopefully. I really don't think it should, honestly.
No.
Keeps us humble too.
Yes, and I was going to say, it keeps us humble.
And a lot of us need that as well, so
yes.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
So for whoever's listening, I think Jenny just shared some good wisdom there. So if you're struggling with that, you heard it first here, that you can work through it for sure.
And I think that's why I started and stopped so many times throughout the years, is I would let it get the best of me. And I'm like, you know what, it's not worth it, or,
right.
whatever. And so...
What did some of that practical, I guess even today, what does that kind of look like of overcoming that? Is it just like putting your nose to the grindstone and just do it?
Yeah.
Or do you have any kind of tools that help you in particular kind of, gain some confidence? Or
Honestly, I think what did it is building the shed. Because if
Yeah.
I'm not out here working, then what was that for? What was that money that we spent?
Right.
You know,
Right.
like this wasn't exactly cheap.
Yeah.
So that's what keeps me. I'm like, okay, I've got the space. I
Yeah.
have no excuses now. Before I would use the excuse, oh, it just makes too much of a mess, or you know, I need to use the dining room table, and then we can't eat dinner at the dining room table, so I'm just not going to do it. Now I have no excuse.
Yeah.
So
That's a really good point. Like,
yeah.
put yourself out there in a way.
Yeah.
That
And make yourself the space
Yeah.
to do it, so
Yeah.
that you can't have any excuses.
it's really good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Oh man, Jenny, this was great.
Yeah.
This was really good. Thanks so much for sharing your story and
Thanks for coming
introducing
out.
your family and sharing your product. Everybody needs to get a bunny or a shirt or a quilt jacket. I think it's a really awesome
Yeah,
product.
thanks.
And guys, if you are able to go out to any of her shows coming up, any of her pop-ups, but for sure visit her website and give her a look. But I really do appreciate you
Awesome.
coming on and sharing, Jenny.
Yeah, thanks for coming out.
Of course. Hey, thanks guys. There'll be another one coming soon.